Todd Davis here from Dirt Bike Test Magazine. We are here at Glen Helen Raceway. We just completed an off-road endurance race on the 24 KTM 350 XCF, which if you're unfamiliar with this bike, it is marketed as a closed course competition off-road race bike. It comes with a larger tank. With this is actually a different tank, but it comes with a big tank. It just doesn't have a quick fill. We have a quick fill on this one. 18-inch rear wheel, 6-speed transmission, everything that you would normally do to a motocross bike to make it off-road race worthy, closed course off-road race worthy. It has handguards. They even come with a skid plate now, which is fantastic. I've been buying these bikes for years, and it always irritated me that they never came with skid plates, and now they do, and they bolt directly to the frame, which is fantastic. These are really, really good stuff. The bike is it's built specifically as an off-road race bike. I think possibly it's tailored a little bit more to the East Coast with the baseline settings. I have spent very little time on a 350. I have had, 4 or 5 450 XCFs, and I actually have a 23 450 XCF, which is the exact same chassis as this. So I have a really good frame of reference for how this thing should feel. 350, 450, you can read and go down rabbit holes to your heart's content about 350s or 450s or whatever. I've never disliked the 350, but I've never been a huge fan. I like a lot of torque. I like to ride a bike a little bit lazy, a little bit low in the RPM range. And the 350 always felt like a large 250 as opposed to a small 450. This bike really changed my mind about it. This new motor is pretty phenomenal. I was shocked with how much torque it had, and compared to my 450, you can really feel the inertia difference in how it turns and all that kind of stuff. For the sake of the test, we did very minimal modifications. We put some Dunlop AT82s on, which is the first time I've ridden with those tires, and they were fantastic. Some mousses in it. I put my tall seat on, my Seat Concepts tall seat, which I love, off of my 450, bolted it right on it. And put some stiffer springs in just to accommodate our added girth. The stock spring races just aren't up to our added girth, right? Stock valving, messed with some clickers. The bike worked really well. It's a lot too soft for us, and that's not to say that it's a bad setting. I think for the target audience, this bike's fantastic. Like if you're a casual desert racer, if you're a desert racer in general, up to a certain, like if you go into the expert level stuff, it's going to be too soft for you. But it's a very controlled bike. It does everything well. It just, if like the bumps here, if you've ever raced here, it gets rough in a lap. Some of the sections, the bumps are enormous. And you get into some of these really big, giant, like sand whoops and bumps and stuff like that, it's going to bottom and clank a little bit. But it's easily fixed. Like I said, I have the 450 version of this bike, and a suspension revalve and a steering damper will make this bike outstanding. And out of the box, like we did really well today. I don't know what we finished overall, but I think we won our class by a bunch. Had a great time riding it. And the engine is the thing. Like the engine is the thing. If you own any of these KTMs, the chassis is literally identical, 250, 350, 450. Like literally you can buy both the same like motor mount kits and everything that you've done on any of them, they're all identical. They all feel a little bit different because of inertia and that type of stuff. This bike makes me think I might want to buy one, which is, I never thought I would want one of these, but it was really good. I had a really good time on it. I literally want to take all the parts that are on my bike and put it on this bike and try it out. To really get a feel for what's really about.
So yeah, Robert Baehr here, Dirt Bike Test. I was one of the teammates today riding this bike. My personal motorcycle is a 250 XC 2-stroke, 23 model. So very similar to this, just 2-stroke, same chassis, same suspension almost, air forks instead of these new spring forks. But this motorcycle is amazing. The motor pulls so good. To start with the motor, it pulls down low, it revs out, it runs more like a 250 like I'm used to, which I like the RPM, I like revving things out. This bike is the 4-stroke version of a 250 2-stroke. It's amazing. The bike works good, the geometry is good, the suspension's good. Like Todd said, the suspension is too soft, I think, for us today when the bumps get real big and real square and real deep. But the stiffer springs help that a little, and it's not rocket science. You can get this bike into shape really quick with a little bit of valving, and we put the IMS tank on it today off of my 250 two-stroke, so we had a dry brake, and IMS. This tank it fits like a glove. You don't even know that it's there. It bumps you up to 2.8 gallons, which is more than enough for any race that you're going to do. Like Todd said, the seat concept seats was really comfortable today. I have nothing to say other than great things. I've ridden a lot of 450s over the years. I'm not particularly a 450 guy. I tend to want to rev things, and I want them to be nimble and light. And this bike honestly felt very, very similar to my 250 today. I put 9 laps on it, close to 3 hours today, and or 2.5 hours, and I'm not tired. This bike does not wear you out. It's honestly, it's short of amazing. It's a really, really good motorcycle. And so my last bike before my 250 XC that I'm currently riding was a Husky FC 250 4-stroke, thinking I wanted to go back towards 4-strokes myself. And I was a little unimpressed, to be honest, if I'm being completely honest. The 250 just sort of goes flat. You rev it, but it signs off a little early. And for me, I'm a little older. I ride the 50 expert class in the local District 37 GP class, and so I don't think my corner speed is quite what some of the younger people are. And the 250F just doesn't have that horsepower getting out of the corner. This, however, does. This bridges the gap between a 250F and a 450. If you're used to a 250 two-stroke or something along that horsepower range, this thing will absolutely run neck and neck with it. And I would say that this is it does put you in a different class as a 350 versus a 250, but it's an amazing motorcycle. I think if I was going to go back to another 4-stroke, I would buy a 350, not a 450. I'm a believer after today.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. One of the things that was pretty noticeable on this, I mean, I have a 23 450 XCF, which is literally identical. The geometry of the frame, everything is identical on it, other than the engine. And if you dig deep into comparing the various 4-stroke motor sizes, 450 is notorious for gyro effect and inertia and all this type of stuff that makes it feel heavy. You'll hear somebody comment about riding a 350 and it's so much lighter. It's not. If you look at the specs for the 250 and the 350 and the 450, I mean, the weight is within a few pounds, right? This bike feels a lot lighter than a 450, not because it actually is lighter, but because of the gyro effect of the crank inertia and all that stuff. And it sounds like nonsense, mostly. You know, if you're not familiar with this or if you've never tried it yourself, it sounds like nonsense. This bike makes the same, or virtually the same peak horsepower numbers as a 450. It feels radically different in how it generates it and how you ride it. And again, I've never been a huge fan of them. Not that I didn't think they were good bikes or anything, but for me personally, they always felt like a big 250, and I felt like I had to ride it more aggressively than I like to. That's why I like 450s, is I can ride low RPMs, so on and so forth. This seems to do, you can ride it, you can rev it, or you can lug it. You can kind of do whatever you want with this bike, and it's fine. It lulls you to sleep. You think that it doesn't have enough torque to get you out of certain corners and things like that, and you don't trust it at first, but it has an amazing amount of torque, which was the most impressive thing to me. You get all the benefit of having torque down low, and you can rev it without the negative effect. Like if you rev a 450, it gets a little frightening, like it kind of ricochets off stuff, and it gets kind of scary. You can rev this thing to your heart's content, and it feels pretty safe. It's just a really fun bike to ride. I like the way it handled. Again, As far as the chassis and stuff, it has the same disease as my 450 does, where the front feels, if the bike feels short, it feels really kind of twitchy on the front, which I know exactly how to fix it. And I could literally take all of the parts off my 450 and bolt it right on this, and I would be really curious to do that at some point, which you never know, maybe we'll do that coming up. And it would be nice to ride it like that at some point, in the kind of comparison's sake. But yeah, I've never considered buying a 350, and I might just consider buying one. So we'll see what happens. It's a new bike year. Every 2 years I try to get a new one, so I don't. Now I'm really confused, so thanks for that. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, so that's a wrap. This was a great day riding the KTM. I can't wait to ride this again. This 350 has opened my eyes. Any of you that loves the RPM of two-stroke or smaller bore motorcycles, this is the bike for you.